Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Ambient Afternoons. I definitely appreciate y'all hanging out with me. If you haven't already, hit that like button for me. Definitely helps me out in the algorithm and all that good stuff. So, as usual, this time of day, I don't do as much talking, but I do more playing. So, what you were just listening to, let me switch over to the pedalboard view here for you guys. So, what you were just hearing was the Hog 2 running into the Empress compressor, into the ToneX 1, which is running a JHS Colorbox V2 tone model, into the MS-70 CDR Plus, which is running the delays, the Plethora X1 running the tri-chorus, and the HX1 running the shimmer reverb on there. Some of my favorite effects. And then also at the very end, I always had my always on pedal, the Source Audio Atlas compressor running an 1176 limiter into an LA2A for saturation. So that's the general sound I'm pretty much working with there. And I'm using the freeze bliss on the Hog 2. I love the Hog 2. If you haven't had a chance to check one out, I highly recommend you check those out. They are quite amazing. So you can have all your freeze and gliss and all that. And these, I don't think you can get these anymore brand new, the Hog 2s, but something used around that market probably be around $350. So you can actually get a real steal on that, just by simply getting it used. All right, so let's get into something else. I might let's see. just joining, I definitely appreciate y'all. Make sure you hit that like button for me, and appreciate y'all chatting. Everybody chime in where they from, so we know where everybody coming from. I definitely appreciate all the love from the different platforms. Appreciate y'all. Yeah, so the HX1 definitely has some of my favorite reverbs in there, like that spotlight. What's that? Searchlight, searchlight reverb. Beautiful. You know, some of that is the MXR layers in there. Oh, turned it off. And all that's the MXR layers. So, you know, you can definitely get into some nice stuff with just the MXR layers, right? It's a absolutely beautiful freeze pedal, but it also has chorus and tremolo, which are available at the same time, and you can mix them. You know, so if I wanted more tremolo on that versus the chorus, and all this is on the MXR layers. See, that's much more of the chorus sound. If I want to increase the intensity and the speed, I just hold the single knob, the single button, turn the, what is that? Turn the mix knob. You hear a lot more of that tail on it. Let me bring up that freeze. Tremolo. You hear a lot more, but then you can turn up the intensity on that. Take your dry signal out. Oh, that's the time. Dry signal, I believe, is this one. Out of the delay mix. You can change the time of the delay. Make it a lot longer. This is in the single layer mode, so this thing has a lot of features to it that can absolutely by itself. And if you don't want it to, if you want it to be a little bit more seamless, bring that time down on that delay. And all that's just MXR layers. So, you know, you can bring the intensity of the modulations down. Switch that over to the chorus. You can switch it to 3 mode. running in stereo right now. That's just the mono jank. You know, you come over here and start adding like a tri-chorus. Now you got some really long layers. Back to the single. So, you know, you can look at the MXR Layers like a mini, like multi-effects, for real. It's got chorus, tremolo, freeze. You also have like this smear effect in there, which is, you know, why you're not hearing the layers individually, which you can turn off. You know, say I wanted to really hear each individual layer. Sound more. Let's bring that decay down to about there. A little bit of fade in. Let's take the dry signal out. So you can make those layers longer. So it's a quite nice layer pedal, you know. But, you know, something like the deep freeze, of course, you know, being that I don't have to have that type of effect on every single gig or even solo gig, right? A lot of times the deep freeze does fine. The deep freeze also, for me, has a better glissando effect between the chords. But the MXR Layers has its own thing. Definitely appreciate you subscribing. Definitely appreciate that. You know, make sure y'all, if y'all haven't already, you know, hit that like button for me. It greatly helps me out. Like, you wouldn't believe how much that actually helps me out in the algorithm and all that good stuff. Hit that hype button. You know, if you got any questions, go on ask, you know. But, yeah, like I was saying, this is my bass by itself. Deep freeze. MXR Layers. Both of them, you can take that dry signal out. That changes something else. And this is both of them in auto mode. So basically the pedals are determining, you know, when it wants to change. versus, you can manually do this with both of these pedals via the foot switch, or with the MXR Layers, you can also use a sustain pedal, which I actually prefer to use with this. So, the deep freeze, it's a miniature pedal, so it doesn't have the ability to have a, sustain pedal in it, but the foot switch works just fine. And it just holds it. If I wanted to play something, I can do that as well. Appreciate that. Yeah, I did a whole session about why I love my setup yesterday. And a lot of it is just the versatility of multi-effects units. So you can check out that from yesterday as well, live stream. But yeah, it definitely helps you get to those. I like how the deep freeze really helps you get to those like string-like sounds. Let me see if I can do that with the MXR Layers. I probably would have to take off the chorus and tremolo, as well as take off the smear. Almost. But with the MXR Layers, you also get this little feature here. Get that additional octave there. But yeah, you can get so many little sounds out this. These little freeze pedals, as well as the Plethora X1 has an infinity sustainer on there. So, these are some pedals that are really useful just in building suspense in the intro, or maybe you're, just trying to build some suspense in a movie scene, or whatever the case may be. These are extremely useful for that. Easy money. So yeah, that's how you can easily get to some nice film scoring type stuff. Just, you know, basically with a, what was that, a Hog 2, right? Which you could probably get this sound with the, you know, other pedals as well, as long as it has the proper octaves. I'll switch over here. So let's start with the individual parts of that. Let's see, what did I have on? Hog 2. Okay, so just general rundown is Hog 2 to the Mel 9. So Hog 2, Mel 9 to the Empress compressor, deep freeze to the ToneX 1 running the JHS Colorbox V2 tone model. And yes, I know I have a color box sitting right here, but I'm talking through it. So it's another way I kind of make multiple tone, multiple color boxes. I use ToneX. So then I run that into MS-70 Plus, running the delays, Plethora X1 running the tri-chorus, and the HX1 running the Searchlight with some heavier parameters in there. So all that together kind of gives you that orchestral choir sound together, you know, everything in combination. So let's hear what things sound like individually. Well, at least the main parts, the tone stuff, I'm not going to turn off, like the compressors and the color box tone model on the ToneX 1. And by the way, all my presets are available on the Patreon. You know what I'm saying? For all these different pedals, the MS-60B Plus, the Enzo X, Future Impact, the MS-70 CDR Plus, the Zoom B6, which is not on screen, and 11 different preamp packs, including the tone color box on for the ToneX series pedals and software. So check all that stuff out, as well as we've started doing memberships for the channel on YouTube. So some of these live streams where I'm giving away all this game ain't going to be, you know, just for the public. They're going to be for the members of the channel. So make sure you start, you know, looking into doing that. You know, it doesn't take a whole lot, but, you know, I need a little support because I want to keep these reviews of pedals and things honest with you guys. I don't want to have to say what other people want me to say. I want to say what I truthfully feel about it, so you guys get an honest review. And not only do you get an honest review, you get them on time when you want them, you know. So, all right, let's break it down. So this is just the sound I was using on the Hog 2. And what I have on here, so I just have the glissando mode just like right above off. So just real quick. So with it off, with it on just a little bit. So then it tracks pretty much perfectly then. So like right above, like just the pedal being, I mean the glissando freeze mode being all the way off, gives you that perfect. You can hear a slight delay because it's, you know, gliding between the notes a little bit. Works great for chords. Then we add in the Mel 9 on low choir. And we got a little bit of, you know, some of that attack rolled off, so it's faded in, as well as we have a bit of sustain on there, so when we release it, gives you that little right? Oh. Perfect. So running that into the Empress compressor, which is running my usual compression settings, into the deep freeze. And if If I want to keep more of that choir sound, I can just add some of the dry signal back in. So, you know, one thing that helps with that, add a bit of delay. And on the delay side of the game, what we got a filter delay on here. We're into a stereo delay, into a ping pong delay, into a tri-chorus, right? So we actually run a double tri-chorus here with the Plethora X1. So the MS-70 CDR Plus is not just running those 3 chords, the filter delay, the stereo delay into the ping pong delay, into the tri-chorus on MS-70 CDR Plus, and then another tri-chorus on the Plethora X1 into the Searchlight reverb. Start getting sounds like that. Matter of fact, hit that like button. Come on, who else giving y'all this type of game? Nobody else trying to give this away. Nobody else trying to teach y'all how to do this. Come on now, like, come on, hit that like button if you haven't already. It means a lot to me. And like I said, make sure you subscribe so you know when I'm doing this stuff live and you can catch it and all that good stuff. But as you can see, it's a world of a difference. Just how you're using delays and reverbs and freeze pedals and combinations, even without the octavers and the Mel 9. Say you just have a freeze and a MS-70 CDR Plus, right? You can, let's simplify this. I'm even going to take off the tone model on the ToneX. So we're just going to have the Empress compressor running into the deep freeze and into the MS-70 CDR Plus. Those of you on a budget, right? Still get some beautiful pads. This is literally just the deep freeze and the MS-70 CDR Plus. And if you want all my pads and stuff, presets, like I said, all that's on the Patreon. You can also sign up for $1 to $5 a month. Make sure, you know, you support the channel. But you can take that same freeze effect, run it through different presets, different results. that's just those two pedals. That's nothing else. Even with the MS-70 CDR Plus by itself. This is why I say even on a budget you can get nasty with it. This is the MS-70 CDR by itself with my patches. Come on, you ain't gotta spend a whole lot of money to sound good now, do you? You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. Hit that hype button for me if you already hit that like button. That helps me out a lot too. You know, and don't forget to comment where you're from, hanging out with us. You know what I'm saying? Don't just be hanging out. Say something, you know. Say what's up, say hi, something. But I appreciate y'all hanging out with me on the different platforms and whatnot anyway. Just foolishness. So, I mean, you could get nasty. I love this thing. What's going on? Appreciate you chiming in from New York and Jersey area. Appreciate it. Another one of the usual suspects. Usual suspects starting to pop up all over the place. And if you're not familiar, Usual Suspects is just the usual crew that comes and hangs out. You know, part of the All Bass Creation Nation. You know what I'm saying? We all in there. So I appreciate all y'all hanging out with me in general. But it is nice to see the familiar faces, and shout out to the Patreon people. You know, all the people that support me over on Patreon and in general, thank you so much. You definitely helped make this channel possible. And I can't thank you guys enough for supporting me and trusting me with your money, because I'm going to use it to reinvest in the things. And I appreciate you guys in general. So thank you. All right. So, yeah, but there's so much that can be done with just... Come on now. You know how much money you'll spend trying to chase all these types of sounds when this thing is $120. So if you're just getting into effects or ambient type stuff, I wouldn't go with all the big stuff first, you know. I would go with something like a MS-70 CDR Plus. Get that, like start learning delay and reverb and the modulations and the filters that are in there. And then from there you can... Oh my goodness. Are y'all hearing the size of the stereo field? This is just as big as the HX1. So the reverb's in here. That's just as big, you know. And you can make those bigger if you wanted it to, you know what I'm saying? The reverbs, you can make them sound massive. You know, I have that searchlight set up to sound, you know, like a stadium almost. Come on, yo, stop playing with the MS-70 CDR Plus. You know, and you even got the lo-fi delays and stuff in there and reverbs, you know, that give you hear that crackling? Yeah, we getting some of that vinyl in there. So you got a lot going on there in that one patch. Like, come on, why would you need to spend a ton of money just trying to get to that sound? That sound can be had for $120. And tell me that don't sound good. Tell me that's not good quality. A lot of times people confuse money with or price with quality. You know, I'm not saying that the more expensive ones aren't quality or don't sound amazing too, but for $120, I mean, sheesh, 140, whatever these things are running now. And it's 6 effects at a time. That's why I can create such extensive pads in there and with so many complex layers. You know, you can hear the modulation in there. Beautiful, nice wide stereo feel. Beautiful lo-fi delay on that with a massive reverb. And it also has one of my favorite phasers in the world. That's a nasty phaser. Stop playing with me. And I ain't even got my bass flat. What's going on? All the usual suspects chiming in. Appreciate y'all. You know, all Bass Creation Nation growing. I appreciate y'all. You know, make sure you chime in. Appreciate everything you got from the UK and hell. Always one of the usual suspects. You know, it's always nice to see you guys drop back past. But tell me this warp filter, this phaser on here has been on it. Is one of Zoom's custom phasers. So it's the warp phaser, and it's on the Zoom B3. It's on the Zoom. I'm trying to remember. Is it on the? It might not be on the Zoom B6. I wish it was. If it's not, but it's definitely on the MS6. I could tell you right now. Matter of fact, where the modulation is. Is there a warp phaser in here? Nope, warp phaser. But this is one of my favorite warp sounds ever. Another one of the usual suspects chiming in. Thank you, I appreciate that. Appreciate the compliment. You could just get so funky with this joint. It's so. Oh my goodness, this the funk. That joint is just the funk. Stop playing with it. Let me get it sound a little funky on here. Let's get a little funk setting on here. Stop playing with me. Tell me that's not funktastic. You ain't even gotta do nothing. All you gotta do is turn that joint on and you automatically in funk zone. Boy, I'm trying to tell you that's a funky. Yeah, I'll be here all day. This ain't make you want to get funky with it. It make you want to slap. It just make, why is your bass sound so big? And that was actually the warp phaser running into the air reverb right there. But just the warp phaser by itself. Even if you're just running straight finger style on that joint, just straight pedaling 16th notes or 8th notes. That joint's so nasty. That is the best phaser I've ever played. Like, and that's on a Zoom pedal. And I don't care what phaser you go get, that joint's gonna hold up. Like, that's going to hold up. And it sounds so, it sounds almost analog, like it's just so juicy. Yeah, it's very much like an envelope filter almost. Like, and you know, it's in the same family of things. You know, filters are made with delays as well. You know what I'm saying? So like, so you know, phasing is a similar thing. Yeah, this one it definitely doesn't get too. I don't even have the resonance up. Oh, okay. I'm gonna take one more thing off. I forgot how I left the bass detune on. So that was actually the warp phaser running to the bass detune, which is also a zoom only effect. Not a zoom only, of course other things have phase. But this bass detune and this warp phaser are fire. Then you add that detune back on. Oh, I'm just giving y'all too much game. I can't give y'all all my settings. Then with the air, you put the air reverb on there, which is more, it's not like a regular reverb, but it just like adds space without adding like any bounce back or feedback or decay. It's a weird thing, but listen how I just opened up the bass sound. That's crazy. And this is a reverb with, you hear that? It's like only, it just adds the actual space to it without adding like any of the after. So like the air effect is crazy. Oh, my man D Hearn in the house, brother. We got some gospel bass royalty in the house. You know, you know, I gotta learn his bass lines just about every other Sunday. My man D Hearn over on Facebook, saying that he appreciate the Future Impact patches. They sound good. Thank you, bro. That mean a lot coming from you, man. Hopefully I can hear it on some of them records soon, man. Y'all, you know, one of my absolute favorite gospel bass players, always laying it down. You know what I'm saying? And he got some chops on him too. So don't think just because he laying down the bottom, he ain't got no chops on him. he'll lay something on you. But yeah, I appreciate all the love from all y'all. You know, Patreon subscribers, YouTube, Facebook. Can't do this by myself. So I need you guys, and I appreciate you guys sincerely. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you too can have the preset packs if you would like to on the Patreon. You feel me? You go to that Patreon, get them preset packs. Got the Enzo X, Future Impact, C4 synth. You know what I'm saying? MS-60B plus, MS-70 CDR plus, Plethora X1, HX1. Also, before D Hearn go anywhere, man, I would love to do an interview with you, brother, on this channel and bring you on to this channel so you can, so some of these amazing bass players that's on here that don't know you can be exposed to you, because he's another great bass player. Like I said, I'm plays on so many gospel records, man. I have, like I said, every other Sunday, I'm pretty much have to learn at least one song that's a D Hearn bass line. Last Sunday, he played one. So, you know, it's definitely an honor to have you in the house, bro. But yeah, so that MS-70 CDR plus, $120, change your life. Especially running, you gotta run in stereo though. It's running stereo right now. And you got so many sounds ranging from bass synth sounds. It's got octavers in there. It's got a little bit of everything. Let me turn my patch back on for y'all make me lose my patches. Just ridiculousness. Come on now. See, I'm gonna get you them different sounds. All these are in one pack. You ain't even got to try to figure that out. But woo. I mean, I can't. I know I talk about the Zoom pedals a lot. I understand it. I talk about them a lot, but I talk about them a lot not because I'm endorsed by them, but simply because I love them. Same way I talk about the Enzo X or the Future Impact or any of these pedals, all the electro-harmonic pedals, any pedals you see up here are already pre-approved by me. You can buy them. You need to buy them. You feel me? If you want to get to some crazier sounds, you don't even have to ask me which one or which one. If you see them up here and I got both of them or three of them or whatever the case, you know, in case of MXR Layers and Deep Freeze, they have two different sounds. They sound different. It means, you know, it's something else I would like to hear. Yeah, you can get some weird pads and some weird things that aren't like harsh and digital. Like I said, that it sounds really good. It shouldn't sound that good for $120. It really shouldn't, you know. Granted, I do love. Let me see. I do love the reverbs and delays in the HX1. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to if I really needed the space, right? I could literally take off the Plethora X1 and the HX1 and literally replace it with just the MS-70 CDR Plus. I'm not going to be mad. Nobody's going to be mad. Nobody's going to hear the difference. Nobody will ever know. And I would still get the same exact results I'm looking for because these two together take up 2 slots. There's just two effect slots, right? On the MS-70 CDR Plus. So this has up to 6 slots at once, and those two only can do 1. You know, now that may not, granted, the ones that they do, that's why they're there. They are great. But if I really wanted to say, you know, I wanted to add a more variety, I can literally just use that MS-70 CDR Plus at right before the Atlas compressor and get almost all the same type of results I'm getting, you're hearing on my channel on a regular. So don't be shy, you know, when it comes to trying out pedals that don't cost $1 million, or just because everybody else got a, you know, such and such doesn't mean you have to get a such and such. Try different pedals, try different companies. You never know what you're like. I will caution you to, you know, usually companies have a reputation for a reason. You know, Zoom actually has a great reputation with the multi-effects community. But, you know, I know other companies, some, you know, you get into the people that only want to play things. Their reverb pedal got to cost $800 and this and that. Listen, find you something that work and that don't break your bank, because guess what? You can always buy more stuff. More money you make, you can get that expensive stuff. I don't have a Noble preamp because I really don't need one. To be honest, you know, I got a ton of other preamps. Plus, I got a ToneX 1 that fits on my board, doesn't hardly take up any space. Little teeny tiny pedal there. So, you know, compared to if I were to switch that out for like a Noble DI, that's a whole thing, and that's going to take up a lot of space. So sometimes pedalboard, you got to kind of watch what you know, or think about space, and in addition to what you want to hear or want to play on. See what we got here. So I have the Atlas compressor and the Empress compressor. On this board, I come into the Atlas compressor here. And then, the Empress compressor. So this analog blue, this is the Empress. At the end of my chain, right before I go into the my looper, you know what I'm saying, I have these Source Audio Atlas compressor. And they just function in 2 different ways. So the Empress comes in, and that's running at a 2-to-1 ratio. That's just tightening up my bass sound just a little bit. Plus, it's all the way mixed, 100% wet from the Empress compressor, so I'm getting that saturation from that analog compressor. In general, then I'm running that. My basic bass sound would be Empress compressor, ToneX 1 running a color box into another preamp, such as a Gens Bend Shuttle 9 is one of my favorite. Color box in the Gens Bend Shuttle 9.0. And then that pretty much run into the Source Audio Atlas compressor running 1176 limiter at a 10-to-1 ratio, 50% wet, 50% dry. That's running into a LA2A limiter and a tube limiter, compressor, whatever. And that's running at a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning it's not compressing at all or limiting at all, but I'm still getting the saturation from the tube, type thing. So, yeah, that's pretty much how it works. The Empress and the Atlas work together. One's working as a function as a compressor, one's functioning as a limiter and saturation. Also, this is perfect for film scoring, right? You throwing that deep freeze. And that's being a little bit more creative with a filter, bit crusher, and a vibrato. Yeah, I know I like my stuff to sing a little bit, certain little thing, and it's almost like an organ, like a singing organ type sound when you do it like that. You'll find a lot of my little sounds like this, I have that vibrato like subtly built into them. I always wanted a tremolo bar. I just never, could afford to have one put in. And I heard, from it's a little bit more difficult with a 6-string bass, and costly. But I like to have that vibrato to make it sing. This is still the MS-70 CDR Plus. I have no idea why everybody just kind of glanced over this thing. Well, I know why, because, they probably wasn't paying folks. You know what I'm saying? That's the way the game go. You don't pay them, they ain't gonna support it. But I really do love this pedal. Plus it's MIDI. You got MIDI in there as well, so you can always have it wired up like I do, where if I want to bypass things or add things. And that's me changing everything from the MIDI captain, which is mostly right now. The MIDI captain is just hooked up to the HX1 MS-70 CDR Plus and the Hog 2. And because those are the pedals that I mainly needed to change, like settings and things like that. Well, it's changing presets, but allows me to get to them a little faster, than other things like the Enzo X. I probably will put on MIDI, and the future Impact. But I got this, the hard part is deciding which sounds I want to put on the foot switches. Like, for instance, I have 8 foot switches, and I need to then get those to play nicely together. and access the sounds I need. So like each one of these presets would be a different foot switch. So it gives me like 8 sounds on each page. Enzo X, whole different story than the something like an MS-70 CDR Plus. You know, it's not just you got great modulations and reverbs and delay in there and drive filters, plus the synths and octavers. But you know, you don't have as much variety of those sounds with the MS-70 CDR Plus. MS-70 CDR Plus, I can say, will almost upgrade any rig. Even if you do have boutique pedals, it's so many things you can do. It's not just an ambient reverb and delay pedal. You have filters in there. You have great a ton of modulations. You know what I'm saying? And then you got that bit crusher in there is one of my absolute favorite bit crushers. It's the only one that doesn't make it sound too buggy, but allows it to like really still have like that distorted flavor. But yeah, the Enzo X is gonna allow you to get straight to some crazy stuff too, and the reverbs in there are fire as well. But yeah, in terms of ambient music, one pedal that doesn't come up too much would be like the C4 synth. Now, yes, you got the bass synth sounds, but there's other types of sounds like harmonizer type sounds that I really with this. Stop playing with that joint. I know a lot of people don't really, they sleep on the C4, the tracking is, and it's not always the tracking. Sometimes it's not even always you. It might be the EQ you're using. You know what I'm saying? Like I have to literally cut my bass a lot on that and boost the upper mids while keeping those highs a little just slightly rolled off, so it's not. So, I mean, you could turn this into a pad. Really, you just put any of these pads through that joint for real. What's going on? Appreciate you chiming in from Spain. Appreciate we got UK, Spain. We got a ton of different places in the house tonight. Appreciate all y'all. Well, this morning. Said tonight. Definitely early in the morning here, at least. But yeah, the C4 synth gets crazy. Yeah, definitely give you like Herbie vibe. More Chick Corea for real for me. That sound when I was creating it was more Chick Corea inspired than Herbie. Ooh, that's nasty. Hey, yo, when you start adding that MS-70CDR to anything, like just anything, first of all, the sound itself that the C4 synth can get right there is just killer. That harmonizer, you know, I forgot which waveforms I used to do that, but all that's in the C4 pack on the Patreon as well. But like that's you could just make so many songs, just, you know, and that's just a major harmonizer. But even when it even goes, the thing I love about it versus other harmonizers, it actually goes to the chords that I wanted to go to on the notes that aren't in G. You know what I'm saying? In the G major scale. Like when I go to F, it goes to the F major 7. When I go to the B flat, it goes to B flat major 7. When I go to the A flat, it goes to A flat major 7. It also goes to F, B flat, E flat major. I even like the fact that it get on that C sharp. I love that chord there. You know, you can use when you know when they make more musical sense like that, a lot of harmonizers they play those chords, those notes really with weird chords in there instead of chords I feel like make sense. Like that's exactly what I would want. You know what I'm saying? I definitely appreciate that. Definitely appreciate you spending some time with me, brother. Go on, enjoy them kids, man. I know how that is. I love getting out with my kids too, man. You know, family is the most important thing. We love playing bass and music and all that, but never forget about that family. That family will be there when that bass and everything else can't. When you can't play no more, you can't talk no more, you know. When you do right by your family, you know, I ain't gonna say for everybody, but most of the time when you got a good family, you know, you want to keep that together. Keep it tight. And always tell your kids, don't let them, hey, you come and fight one of us, you fighting all of us. It's like, nah, play. But yeah, teach them to stick together, man. You know, I can't tell you how many times my sisters have had to save me or, and that's something that, of course, you can get a harmonizer with the Enzo X. You know, you can harmonize on there as well. You can harmonize, do the same thing on a Future Impact. I just haven't taken the time to do it yet, you know, but I will. I might go back through and just make like some harmonizer packs, like for bass players when y'all want to do one chord, you know, one note, stuff like that. So, you know, don't sleep on these joints either. The harmonizers on the C4 synth are good too, you know. But somebody asked what is my favorite pedal. I don't have a favorite pedal, you know. I ain't gonna lie to you. Every pedal up here is up here for a reason. It's used for different purposes. You know, this is my favorite bass. This is actually my only bass. I only play one bass, and that's this one. But effects pedals, I don't even look at effects pedals the same way. Like my instrument is really, really personal. Like this is like literally almost like an extension of me, while the effects pedals are all like just seasoning on that. Like it's all just, it's like having a bunch of plugins. Just instead of doing them in Logic or Pro Tools, you know, I have all that stuff here. So I always look at it like all this is disposable. You know, I love it all, but at the end of the day, it all comes back to what I choose to play with it, you know, how I choose to sound. And this instrument allows me to portray that sound, you know, properly in the way I would like to without fighting me, and fights me the least out of any instrument I ever played, including the balance of it. I don't even have to hold this bass, and it'll just stay there. But with the pedals, you know, there's going to be new technology. You know what I'm saying? As you see, I'm using a lot of multi-effects, right? There's going to be new versions of these at some point. You know, and when those new versions come out, I'm probably going to get them. You know, if they are improvements upon these designs. Just the same way I have a Zoom MS-50G here. I got a MS-60B plus here. I used to have an MS-60B. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, same thing with the other pedals. Yeah, there's more I use often than others, and that's mostly the bass sounds. The pedals I use the most are, of course, the ones I use when I'm gigging playing bass. This whole board goes with me to most gigs, so this whole side from here on out. But the most important pedals on there are the Empress compressor, the ToneX one, which is running a color box into other preamps. That's my general sound. And then that running into the Source Audio Atlas compressor. I don't know why I'm doing that. Defeats the purpose of having MIDI. So basically, this is my general bass sound here. You know, if I want something a little cleaner, or if I want to add that nice Ampeg sound to it. And I have, you know, just other stuff on here that's hard. Where's the Aguilars? Where's my Aguilar joints? There it is. Color box in the Aguilar. AG preamp. And all that's on the ToneX one. So it's really, my main bass sound is just compressor, preamps, limiter, with a little saturation at the end, you know. Again, the Atlas compressor just running 1176 limiter, 10-to-1 ratio, long attack, short release, 50, it's running parallel, so 50 wet, 50 dry, running into a LA2A, which is all wet, 1-to-1 ratio, so no compression, and just using that for saturation again. So that I keep my bass signal pretty good, because I don't. My bass doesn't need a whole lot. Plus, I got really good EQ on here. If I want to slap, got plenty of. So, you want to start with just a good sounding bass in general. Empress compressor. Right? Color box running into Aguilar AG preamp, which is one of my custom tone models. And these dual, double preamp packs will be available this week. So on the Patreon for your ToneX stuff. So check that out. What's going on? Appreciate you. Appreciate you chiming in. And Atlas compressor brings it up the rest of the way. So, yeah, just having a basic good combination of solid compressor. And that compressor in the beginning is only running a 2-to-1, the Empress. I'm only running that 2-to-1. And I got the high pass filter on the compressor up pretty high, up towards noon. So it's not overly compressing anything. It's just compressing just a 2-to-1 ratio. And then that goes into that nice combination. And again, here's the color box in the Gens Bench Shuttle 9.0, which is a 2 preamp. So, and I got them pushed with the gain on here too, so it get a little bit of that side tube saturation from the color box analog solid state preamp, while got the tube there too. So yeah, the bass sounds pretty much are very simplistic, and I can do it like that where I can just get the different flavor of the different preamps. This is the SGT color box into the Ampeg SGT. So I'm gonna flip through them so you can just kind of hear it, just like slight variation. You know, I try to keep these similar EQs, so as I'm playing them live, it's not the EQ of it, or like I'm not getting like one's thin, one's really big, you know. I'm more so just getting the different actual flavors of the preamps, not the, you know, try to tone, gain, you know, level match them and all that stuff. So each one has just a slightly different flavor to them. Nothing crazy changing in terms of the feel from each one to the next. And that's one thing I like. I like to have that firmness from the color box, which is present in each one of those sounds. While on this particular patch, I'm also getting some of that saturation from the tube. And you really get the feel, because that Aguilar AG still has that Aguilar sound where it's really like it's really like full. It's really full in that lower mid range, you know, type of thing. While you have the Jens Bench Shuttle being a little bit more of an open, wider sound, but still having some of that tube saturation in there. And then you got the Ampeg SGT DI, and all of these are stacked with the color box. So you're getting the firmness through the color box for all of these. So then you're getting the Ampeg sound on top of the color box sound, and that's a nice combination as well for when you don't want to have when you still want to get that nice harmonic saturation from the Ampeg. So, all without breaking your bank either. So, you know, or breaking your back, because guess what? The SGT, the AG preamp, and the Gensler Magellan. I'm going to show you something real quick. I want to show you how much space these type of pedals would take up on your pedal board versus a ToneX 1. You know what I'm saying? Let me switch to the pedal board view. So, you know, this is your Ampeg SGT. And as you can see, this is, well, remember, this is the ToneX. See, the ToneX is actually smaller than, you know, is one of the smallest pedals on the board. Only thing the same size is the Deep Freeze, or like, you know, those Pico size pedals, they call them, electro-harmonics. But look at that. That took up the space of the DI box, the C4, and the ToneX 1. Look at this. That's taking up all that real estate. And then this. So just from having those 3 preamps on board there, I would have to not have the Future Impact, the Boss OC5, the C4 synth, the ToneX 1, and the Canvas Stereo line isolator. So I would have to forfeit all of that just to have these 3 preamps on board. And not that these aren't great preamps or nothing like that. It's not that. It's that they're bulky. You know, they are analog, so I do keep them around for the studio. You know, studio stuff, I'll probably just run the actual real things. There's no point in me, you know, I have them. But if I didn't, the ToneX ones, the ToneX tone models that you can buy for me are just as good. I promise you. Like if I was not at home and I was recording with my laptop, I would just use the ToneX one, the ToneX software. Mind you, it comes with 4 pieces of software plus SVX1 and XVX2. So the ToneX is really, really hard to beat in terms of like the preamps, especially if you get the new signature bass one. It comes with tons of preamps already. Get all your classic ones from them. Then you come to me, get your more modern presets like SGT and color box mixed in there, all that stuff. Done with my custom EQs and stuff. Because one of the hardest things about the tone models, you know, I've heard and things like that off the ToneNet, they sound very thin. Or they sound very overly scooped, and you can't get nothing out the mid-range. But these, even if I put my bass flat, it's the color box into the SGT, color box into Aguilar AG. Still very nice, full sounds to them. Color box, Jens Band Shuttle 9.0. Very balanced. But still give you some body to it. Even if you bypass it, you really hear it. See, I just give you enough to where it adds some booty to it, adds some body to it, and it gonna feel you. You know what I'm saying? Turn that on. Yeah. This is literally with my bass flat. So, you know, of course, if I pull out my mid switch there. But yeah, it gives you plenty of bottom and everything. That's without anything. So you can really hear how much it shapes the sound, but doesn't overly shape the sound, and you still get a nice representation of your actual true bass sound. So, you know, these packs, like I said, will be out this week. Get you a ToneX 1 signature bass collection, and then, you know what I'm saying, you get all those preamps of the classic stuff like the SVT. They got an orange amp on there, the AD200, and got a few Gallien-Kruger amps on there. My packs, I got things like the Ampeg SGT, Gensler Magellan preamp, Aguilar AG preamp, you know, Eden WTDI, you know, they got Jens Band Shuttle 9.0, little Mark bass, Mark bass, little Mark III, and like a Harkey TX 600 and all that stuff. So yeah, there's different preamps definitely will give you different characteristics. You know, just keep in mind that, you know, the more analog ones you buy, the more they're gonna take up space or end up sitting in the corner waiting for you to use them for studio time or whatever the case. ToneX, it definitely has the best amp models I've tried, and I've tried quite a few. And it's not just me. It's another guy on YouTube, does great pedal and gear reviews. It's a guitarist. Can't remember his name right now, but he does like them really scientific tests and graphs and, you know, EQ charts and stuff, and compares all the scientific stuff. And ToneX definitely came out on top and against like some of the other competitors. But yeah, it's worth it. You know what I'm saying? So like that's something that instantly boost your bass rig without taking up a lot of space, and you can carry it in your bag. It also has a built-in noise gate compressor, modulations, delays, reverbs. What's going on, Auntie? Appreciate you chiming in over on Facebook. But yeah, it holds its own. It also has, you know, you can create pads and stuff with that as well. So I would say ToneX would be a great investment for any bass player. You throw it in your bag, it's the size, it fits in the palm of your hand, and you can easily swap out preamps and different things without ever moving the pedal. You know, you just plug into the USB or go with the 20 preamps that are available for you on there with your presets. So, you know, in terms of ambient pedals, I count that because you can, it shapes your tone. You know, a lot of times as a bass player, you're going to need something to shape your tone. And I actually have a tone model on there from the color box that's just the color box with like more of my chordal settings as well, or settings. I got another one that's just settings for if I use more keyboard or like those choir sounds. And it's a color box tone print for that as well. So it allows me to basically shape and add saturation from different preamps or, you know, things like that, distortions, you know, doesn't do modulations or compression or nothing like that in terms of modeling it. Has it built in, doesn't model it. Only models, you know, preamp pedals, EQs, distortion, fuzzes, stuff like that, you know, and also does your entire rig if you want to mic up your cabinet and get that sound. So yeah, I'll be doing, as soon as I can figure out how to get the software, the ToneX software to play nicely with Streamlabs and not give you all that clicking, I'll do some more on the Signature Bass Collection, because they also have a bunch of pedals that they give you in there. Not give it to you, but they modeled a bunch of pedals that a lot of you guys have asked about. Distortion pedals, EHX, what's that, you know, the big muff, bass muff, you know, all that's on there. So, but yeah. So, tips for the day. Just try to pick some pedals that don't take up space, you know, for certain things. You got to pick and choose which you think would work best for you in any situation. Like I said, I can easily take off that HX1 and Plethora X1 and just run the MS-70 CDR Plus and save that space, you know. But I value having those different modulations and delays and reverbs that I like from those two pedals as well. However, you know, when it comes to the preamps, I prefer to carry the ToneX One. And that allows me to have a lot more space on my board without having the color box. See how big the color box is? Color box, the SGT, and all these other preamps just to get bass sounds, like just to get bass preamp sounds, you know. You got to kind of pick what's most important to you. So pedalboard real estate definitely is precious. You know, that's the reason why I have the MXR Layers over here and not on my main gigging board, because I need to squeeze a lot more onto this board than this one. You see, this one got all these big pedals. This one's got more compact pedals, 2 compact pedals, mostly regular size pedals, and then 2 oversized pedals. The Enzo X and the HX1. So, yeah, I try to, for the most part, and this is just a 3-way looper switch, 3-way effects loop switcher. So each one of these is just a different effects loop. So that's all that is. But yeah, the main thing I would say is understand like value and size wise. Like the Enzo X, I can't get anything else that'll do that. I have to deal with a pedal that size to get what that pedal offers. Versus the preamps, I don't. I can use the ToneX one. Don't have to sacrifice, and I still get all my tones that I would have had from my preamp. So I think it's really important just to weigh those options when you're building it, or thinking about which pedals you're buying. I know we want to try everything. We want to try. I do. Every time I see some new stuff come out, I want to try it for the most part. Just see what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like the MXR bass synth pedal, I already know it's not going to be as good as the Future Impact. No shade MXR, but I already know that it doesn't have the feature set and the skill set to do so. It just doesn't. Not skill set like it's learning and stuff, but it's a pedal. It just doesn't have the features to deal with the Future Impact or the Enzo X. So it's not even the same thing or necessarily for the same demographic, but I still want to try it. It's something about when, like the Mood, Chase Bliss Mood 2. That's something else I want to try. $400 ambient pedal, it's quite pricey for what it is, but I still want to try it. It doesn't, even though I have my, what I could consider my dream setup, because I don't need anything else. I don't have to have any other things that, nothing else is going to make some sounds that I can't really make here. But I still want to try it. It's just me as a musician. I'm curious, I'm very curious about sounds and pedals. So don't think you're the only one to just be buying pedals just to buy them sometimes. Some of these pedals I got to start getting rid of. I probably sell about 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm looking at about 4 or 5 pedals I can sell right now and not really miss. But that's the nature of the game. You buy what you need and then you upgrade some stuff. Like I said, the digital ones, I already know at some point I'm going to upgrade this MS-50G to an MS-50G Plus, and I won't miss this MS-50G at all. The digital pedals, I don't really care about like that. I just want each generation or the next one I buy to do a little more or get a better sound quality or some sort of really good improvement. Versus, you get a pedal like the OC5, you just got to love the OC5 for what it is. That's this brown one. Ain't going to be no upgrades, ain't going to be none of that, and it's still going to take up this amount of space, But I love the sound. I love the feature set that it gives me. Just you got to weigh feature set, sound quality, space, all these different things into building, I guess, your pedal rig. It's not going to be cheap all the time, but if you start with some certain options, you can spend some time learning without it costing you a lot of money to learn. For instance, a MS-60B Plus or MS-70CDR Plus are going to, if you're just getting into effects and you don't need amp models or distortion or anything like that, just get your MS-70CDR Plus. It's going to give you a bunch of effects, but I would suggest if you really are just a beginner and you're playing bass and you need everything, get your MS-60B Plus for $110 and learn 6 effects at a time. And it's good that it's only 6 effects at a time because it won't confuse you. If you start adding things, a lot of people want to go straight to a big giant pedalboard unit. Listen, start with an MS-60B Plus. Learn the effects and then go from there, you know what I'm saying? So you don't get confused, you know what I'm saying? And then learn each individual effect by itself and learn how that affects your sound and what you like and don't like. That's why I know I love that warped phaser on the MS-70 CDR Plus, because I learned each effect by itself. But besides that, make sure you experiment, try new things, try new sounds. Don't lock yourself in a box. And you'll have a great time with music and pedals. But all right, guys, that's all I'm going to do for today. I thank y'all for chiming in, hanging out with me. Usual suspects, thank y'all for coming through, showing some love. If you commented, liked, or shared, or subscribed, thank you. Patreon folks, and Patreon subscribers and all that stuff, if you bought presets or you signed up there to support the channel, thank you. Thank you so much. I definitely appreciate you. Don't forget, we got channel memberships now. So some of these lives, they like you're watching now, are not going to be just open to the public like they are right now. You're going to have to be a member of the channel. Not all of them. So make sure you still subscribe, even if you're not going to be a member. But you just won't get everything. You know what I'm saying? But if you want all the information, you want all the live streams, I'm going to be bringing in a live bands pretty soon, doing live concerts at the crib and all that. So, you know, if you want to be a part of that, make sure you sign up as a channel member or on the Patreon. You will have access to the, if you sign up on the Patreon, you will have access to the live streams still, you know what I'm saying? So we're gonna make sure we build a whole community, and I definitely can't thank you guys enough for the support you've shown so far. If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Oh, if you want to check out any of my music, allbasscreations.bandcamp. If you want to send some, Cash App, Super Chat, all that good stuff, I definitely appreciate it. You guys have a great evening. I mean, I don't know why I keep trying to make it nighttime. It's because it's dark in here. Well, all the blinds and stuff are shut. But y'all have a great day. Stay encouraged. Don't let nothing get you, slow you down, stop you. Remember, you can make a mistake, and there's a new day. There's a new moment. There's a new hour. There's a new minute for you to do